Hello everybody, welcome along to another video about lighting that I enjoy doing. We have another controller to show you here. This is a SmartShow NetDMX to single universe DMX driver. Sounds complicated, it's not. It's actually quite a simple controller, so I'm hoping that this video will show you how to connect it up and use it. I've already chopped off the top. Let's have a quick look at the instructions. So the instructions are quite good. It tells you all about the parts used, or the parts inside the bag, I should say. We've got a LAN connection, gives you the IP numbers. I'll go through that in a minute. Tells you about this flashing display. It sounds a bit complicated, this flashing display, but once you get into it, it's absolutely fine. You can set it up by the controller, which I'll show you as well, and on the back there's some other information as well. So we're going to not ignore this, but we're going to paraphrase all this, and we're going to show you how to connect it and use it within the video. So what do you get inside the bag? We get a cable that connects to a DMX cable or a controller, which we'll be using later. We get another cable which is the same as this, but you can connect it to your own cabling or your own lighting rig, so that just plugs in the same as that one. This is a power cable, a two-pin cable, which goes to a transformer or into your own sort of loom that you have with your power. The controller itself is quite small. Have I got a tape measure? Right, let's have a look. So it's roughly 55 millimeters, something like that, by about 24 millimeters. My ruler's getting a bit worn, so it's not particularly large. Black all the way around apart from the label at the front. At one end you've got the Ethernet connection, two lights on it. Gives you the left hand light if it's connected and the right hand when it's got activity. And this is where the wires actually plug in. Let's just zoom in and have a look at that. Okay, hope you can see that all right. So we've got ground, data plus and data minus on the top connection, so they all go into this one, which is a 3-pin. Again, it's keyed. Where's the key? There we go, it's keyed, so you can't get it upside down. And the bottom you've got the power, which is ground and plus, and we can go anywhere between 5 volt and 24 volt for the power, and that just again just plugs in there. Other side, like I said, you've got the Ethernet connection, and there's the two lights, Ethernet link and the activity light. Right, let's do the fun part and connect it up. So we're going to plug in our power cable here, and I've got my bench power supply set on 9 volts. By the way, apologies for the messy desk. I've got 2 or 3 projects on at the moment. I'll give you a team point if you can guess what the junk behind me is actually for. Right, so let's plug in the power. I'll switch off the bench lights so we can see exactly what's going on. Just keep an eye on the top of the controller there. So as you can see, we've got a flashing light, and this is what you need to remember or to count to tell you what the IP number of this controller is. So let's just take a closer look. Right, I'm going to switch on again in a minute. It will come up blue originally from the start, then it will flash a red light, and the number of red lights it will flash is to do with the IP number that it's set for. So the IP number, as you know, is 192.168, etc. You can't have a dot, obviously, with a light, so you'll see that the light will go off, and that signifies a dot. So let's see what happens when we turn it on. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, so that's 192. Goes off, that's your dot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, that's 1, 6. And then 8. Goes off, comes on. 1. And goes off, comes on. And then goes through the last part. So 192, off, on, dot, which is your dot. 168, off, on, which is your dot, etc. The default IP, let me just check on the instructions here. Let me get that on the screen for you. There it is. So the default IP is 192.168.1.201. Now 0 again is a problem. You can't have the light going off and on again for a 0 because that is actually donating the dot. So with a 0 you'll see it counts it 10 times. So 10 retro flashes will actually be the 0. Okay, so we'll turn the power off again. And then using my hand to cover the light, let's just see that again. Okay, so you saw that flash 10 times there, and that 10 times represents the 0. Okay, so we've got that set up now. That's 192.168.1.201. Let's connect it to our network. First thing we need to do is to plug it into the network. And when we do that, you'll see that the lights start to flash immediately at the back. So let's go to the computer, and the first thing we'll do is type in CMD just by pressing the Windows button in the bottom left corner. Press enter. I'm going to use a command called ping, and we type in the IP address of the controller after that, and we can see that we're getting a reply, so that's good. That means that the computer can see the controller. Let's close that. Open up a web browser and type in the IP number into there again. So 192.168.1.201, and there we can see the controller setup. So you can change the IP number here. You can change the subnet mask if you want. I'm going to leave it as the default, which is the C255.255.255.9. If you don't know what you're doing, I would leave that alone and just leave it with the default. We've got two types of protocol. We've got ArtNet and we've got SCAN or E131. I personally use ArtNet, but the choice is yours. And the DMX speed here, again, unless you know what you're doing, I would just leave that at 44 Hz. That's absolutely fine. So we can see there then that everything's set up. We don't need to do anything, but if we want to reboot it, we can do. And I'll just turn the controller around so we can see, and I'll just press the reboot on the screen, and you'll see the light goes off, and it'll go through the usual flashing of the lights, and we can check to see if it's alive, and we'll just refresh the page. There we go. So we know that it's all working okay. So what we should do now is connect it to a light, and we'll test it in a piece of software. Right, I've had to move things around the bench a bit to get the light in, but as you can see, we've got a moving headlight here. We've got the controller here, which is still connected to the power and the network. So what we need to do first of all is switch the light on to make sure that the light itself is set up. So let's turn the power on. First thing it'll do is a reset, just to make sure that the head is in the right place, which is done there. And next thing you'll see is that D001 is down here. So that means that the light is in DMX mode, and it's waiting for the first channel number 1 for some information. You can change that by doing the buttons on the bottom here, but each light is different, so I'm not going to go into the details about that, but you can have several lights. So this is set for 1, which is 8 channels, which is your up down, which is your tilt and your pan and your colours, and then you can have another light which is say channel 10 onwards, which you'll be able to control as well. So we've just got the 1 light at the moment. So what we need to do is to plug it in. So let's plug in our DMX cable. So we'll just push it in the back there. Again, don't forget it's keyed, so you can only go one way. Turn our light round and we'll plug it in. Right, so just have to excuse the fact that I've got a short cable, but you see the controller here, it's plugged in the back, and you can see the front of the light there. And that's all set now, ready to receive information from the software. Right, back to the computer again, and we're going to go into XLights. And we need to add the controller in. So let's add Ethernet, and we'll give it a name, moving head. The description is, let's call it light 1. So the IP address here is what we know the controller is, 192.168.1.201. Protocol on this one is E131, but we'll just change that down to ART8. There we go. Now you'll see here that it says start universe is 1 and the universe count is 1. If you remember, on the controller the start universe was 0. So what we can do in the software, we can press the button down here that says open, and that will actually open the web page to our controller, and there's the universe 0 just there. So let's just change that to 1 and save that. So that's now saved. We'll close that window down. So our start universe is 1 and our universe count is also 1. Number of channels is 510. So you can see there you can have various lights of various numbers of channels. So that's all done, and we press save. Next thing to do is on the layout tab here, we need to add in a moving head light. So we'll pop up to where it says create new DMX. We will add in a DMX light just there, moving headlight, and all we're going to do on this one is where it says start channel just here, we're just going to change this. It says 1 at the moment, but there's a little option box at the side. We'll press that and just change it to controller, and there's the moving head controller. Press OK and we press save. Next thing to do is to add it to our sequence, where we're just going to do a test on this. So let's go for a new sequence. We're going to do an animation, we're going to do a quick start. I won't go into the details of XLights, there's loads of information on YouTube about it, but just for the demo, what we're going to do now is we're going to add a control. So from the top here you've got D for DMX, so let's drag that down to our moving head row. I want to make it a little bit larger so it's easy to see. So there we have a representation of the light, and with the channels 1 to 8 down the side there. So let's turn on output, which is the light on the top right hand corner here. We just click on the DMX so it's highlighted, so the computer knows that whatever we do next is going to control the light, and we'll move one of the channels, and as you can see the light or the moving head is spinning around as we move the channel around. There we go. So let's have a look at the next one. So the next one moves the actual head up and down. Now the next one, oh dear, my virus is out of date, never mind. The next one I know is to do with the brightness. Now that is set for around 130 is the maximum, and I'll tell you what that channel does in a moment. So what's our next one? Okay, so that's the red, and that's the green, that's the blue, and that's the white. Now remember I said about this one, this channel number 3, so let's just add some lights onto there. And what this one does is a strobe, so if I go much further you can see it starting to strobe, and if we go down you'll see that it's actually a main mix for all the lights, but the maximum brightness is 130. So there we go, that is how it's done. So that's got our light connected to XLights and connected to the controller and connected to the output. So I hope you enjoyed that. Let's just have another look on the bench. So I hope you enjoyed that. Very quick and easy. I want to thank SmartShow for providing me with this controller to play with. Please join me again. If you like what I do, please subscribe, please give the video a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching.